guys, it is Sarah here with my service dog Bailey, and in today's video we are going to show you all about Bailey's tasks. She has tons of tasks, and I talked a bit about that in our service dog tag video, but in this video I'm going to try to do some simulated task work for you guys so that you can see what she's like in action. Sarah here with my service dog. Nice. Good girl. Is split in between responses and alerts, and also psychiatric work and medical work. The only reason I'm differentiating between medical and psychiatric is because the ACAA, which is the law in the US that governs airlines and airports, differentiates between the two, but no other federal laws in the US differentiate between psychiatric and medical service dogs. But for that law, I'm going to differentiate between the two in this video. So the first tasks I want to talk about are her psychiatric responses. And the first one is a panic attack response and her nightmare response. And both of those look very similar. For the panic attack response, I actually have a separate video on that, which I will link down below. It also breaks down each part of her panic attack response and shows it with a simulated attack. My nightmares, based on what a loved one told me, when I have nightmares, respond very similarly to as if I'm having a panic attack. So her panic attack response, we altered it a little bit to adapt to me already being in bed and what it takes to kind of wake me up from those. But it looks very, very similar to the panic attack response, so I'm not going to re-simulate that for this video. You can check out my other video for that. So another one of Bailey's response tasks is behavior interruption. She knows a variety of different behavior interruptions, and the goal of each of these, after she recognizes the behavior, is just to get me to stop. So she will escalate her response based on if I keep continuing after she first tells me to stop. So some of the different behaviors that she knows how to interrupt are scratching, fidgeting, covering my face, and different self-harm behaviors. But the one I'm going to simulate for you guys in this video is scratching. Good girl, yes, yes, good job. So Bailey knows another task called cover, in which I am facing one direction, and based on how I'm facing and where my attention is, she will adjust her body, or I'll give her a command to where she is standing right behind me, and it's just to help alleviate things like hypervigilance and anxiety. If I was facing this way in the store, a cover would look like this. Bailey, cover. Good girl. And she can do this sitting, standing, or lying down. Good job. Bailey also knows a command called kisses. So Bailey, kisses. Oh, thank you, thank you. So the reason that we taught kisses is that we wanted to include that while she is doing some of her other tasks. So while she does her panic attack response, or nightmare interruption, or deep pressure therapy, or things like that, because kisses or something like that, kind of depending on how she's kissing, it can help regulate breathing if you're hyperventilating. It can help distract you and kind of ground you, so take away the attention from whatever is causing anxiety or panic or whatever, and bringing it back, attention back to her, so it grounds you in the moment. And it can also be used if I am dissociated, to bring me kind of back to my body and bring me, again, put the focus back on where I am right now. Bailey also knows a task called deep pressure therapy, which kind of plays on the fact that our bodies respond to different kinds of pressure and weight on us. So if you've ever heard of how weighted blankets can be used for people with anxiety or autism or sensory overload or things like that, it's very similar in the fact that she puts her weight and very purposefully puts it either on my legs or on my chest or my whole body, and that can reduce a panic response, reduce anxiety, and also it can help with grounding. So Bailey will do deep pressure therapy in response to either a command, so I will tell her pressure, or she will do it in response to events that are happening. So if I am dissociated, or I'm displaying anxious behaviors, or I'm crying, she'll also respond then with deep pressure therapy. Some of this is psychiatric, but she also, as part of her medical response, will do deep pressure therapy as a fainting response, because it does help bring my blood pressure back to where it's supposed to be when I faint. Bailey, pressure. Oh, good girl, good girl. Yes, go pressure. Bailey, pressure. Good girl, good girl. Bailey, pressure. So Bailey knows deep pressure therapy, but she also knows something called light pressure therapy, which is a pseudo task. There's actually a lot of controversy on whether or not it has any medical benefit, or if it's just, you know, more in your head and more of a comfort type thing. So this cannot be like a really standalone task. I don't think it would hold up in court as a task, but it is something she does that helps me out. So she will, while we are out and about, if she starts to notice slight anxious behaviors coming from me, but it's not, you know, bad enough yet that she needs to do deep pressure therapy, oftentimes she will rest her head on my foot, or maybe stand up and put her head in my lap, and that light pressure can alleviate some anxiety. Like I said, this task can be controversial depending on who you talk to in the community, but as long as it isn't the standalone task that a service dog does, I don't see any problem in using it as a task. So right now Bailey is leaning her body slightly onto my foot while she's lying down, and so that's a form of light pressure. So right now Bailey's head is in my lap, which is another form of light pressure therapy. So this pressure kind of helps relieve a little bit of anxiety, and it also allows me to get some grounding or tactile stimulation. So at the same time, I can ground myself using her ears or her body, or sometimes I will have her do kisses on my hand and just lick my hand, because that will really bring me back to what is going on in the moment. Another response task that Bailey knows is takedown. So in response to both psychiatric things, so like if I am hyperventilating, or I'm starting to have a panic attack, or I have certain behaviors that she knows she needs to get me to do deep pressure therapy immediately, she will do a takedown to get me down to a lower position. This not only allows her to do deep pressure therapy easier, but it also prevents me from maybe passing out and hitting my head after hyperventilating. It also works as a medical response task, because if my heart rate or blood pressure are out of whack and I'm going to faint because of those heart rate and blood pressure issues, then she will respond in a similar way. She can tell when my blood pressure is either too high or too low, and she will do a takedown at those times to prevent me from fainting and hitting my head. Bailey also knows some directional tasks. So she knows the names of a couple of my close friends and family. And so if we are out and about and somehow I lose them, or I need her to go get them because I need help in the house, I can say, go find so-and-so. And if we are out and about, she will stay like maybe a foot or a step or so in front of me and almost guide me to them, but because she's not cleared by our vet for mobility, she doesn't pull, there's no tension on the leash at all. She just stays a step in front of me and I kind of follow her. Or if we are in the house, I will say, go find so-and-so, and she will go to them and kind of bug them until they come check on me. So that works for go find, and it also works for follow. So if we are in a crowded place and I'm finding myself very overwhelmed and I can't focus on even what direction I'm going. I can tell her to follow so-and-so, and I will keep my eyes glued on her, and she will follow my family member or whoever that I tell her to in the crowd, and until we get to a place where they stop, in which case she'll stop when they stop. So another one of Bailey's tasks is sometimes a little hard to explain, so if you have questions, put it in the comments down below. But basically, she helps me get out of maybe social situations or whatever situations that I feel I'm having trouble navigating or getting out of, or for whatever reason, maybe I feel an attack coming on, maybe I'm just really anxious. She will help me get out of those situations. And so how we typically do this is I will use an existing task behavior. So maybe I will have her do a behavior interruption. I'll just like quietly, while I'm standing there in whatever situation, I'll like scratch my arm, and she will do her behavior response appropriately, and then I will use that as an out to be like, oh, excuse me, I have to go take my dog out, or excuse me, like I'm gonna go take care of something real quick. And I find that very helpful in navigating my disabilities and navigating the things that I struggle with. So moving on from Bailey's response tasks, which means she's responding to something that's already happening, I want to talk a little bit about her alert tasks, which is basically when she lets me know that something's going to happen before it happens. She can tell that these things are happening before I have any idea. And typically, she lets me know about 15 minutes before something's going to happen. So she'll let me know if I'm going to have an anxiety attack, or if I'm going to start dissociating really badly, or have something like a flashback or something. She will know about 15 minutes before that happens, and she will first start to get really clingy, and then if I don't notice that she's getting clingy, she will paw at me, and the closer we get to when that is going to happen, she escalates. So she'll paw at me, then she'll jump on me. There only has happened once that she's barked to actually alert me to something I didn't know was going to happen, and that was when that alert was within 1 minute of the episode. So typically she lets me know 15 minutes, and then if I don't listen to her, they get more and more aggressive isn't the word, but like assertive, for when she's telling me that I need to remove myself from a situation and get to a safe place. So the psychiatric ones she does are dissociation, anxiety attacks, flashbacks, but she also does some for medical reasons. She does do a heart rate and blood pressure alert. She knows when my heart rate is much, much too high or much, much too low, and she knows when my blood pressure is much, much too high and much, much too low. And those are also related to the fainting response that she does. A lot of Bailey's tasks, whether they're responses or alerts, follow the same progression of behaviors. She'll first start paying attention to me, she'll get really close to me, kind of stare, then she might nudge me with her nose, then she'll paw me, then she'll jump at me, and then if it is like really dire and she really needs me to like lie down or I'm gonna faint or something, she will let out like one bark, non-disruptive, just to let me know, okay mom, you're out of time. So the reason why we did this same progression, regardless of the reason she is alerting or responding, is because that's really what I needed. If I'm having a medical or psychiatric episode and she's letting me know what I need to do, I don't need to know the difference in the moment between, is this a heart rate alert or a blood pressure alert? Is this, you know, am I about to like dissociate? Am I about to have an anxiety attack? I don't need to know that difference. What I do need is for her to tell me that I need to get to a safe place, that I need to leave a situation, that I need to lie down, things like that. And the way her behaviors progress, it also follows the intensity of what is going to happen or what is happening, how much time I have before I need to get out of a situation. And that intensity is really what I need, not the differentiation between what is going on. So that's why we trained her specifically in that way. I know not all teams do that. It can be very helpful for teams, different teams, to differentiate between alerts, like especially with, I've heard diabetic alert dogs, they may have use the right paw if it's a high, left paw if it's a low, or something like that. And I see how that is very helpful for other teams, but this is just an example of how all teams are different, and because my needs are different, we trained her so that all of her alerts and responses followed the same progression. She does know the difference between when she should be pawing at me and when she should be doing a takedown, and we trained her to know that difference in intensity, not to differentiate which paw she uses. So that was kind of our reasoning behind that. But overall, that was a very broad overview of Bailey's tasks. We are actually in the process of adding a couple, but I didn't want to add them into this video until they are completely trained. But she's always in training, always learning more to help me out. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your support. Please let me know any comments or questions you guys have in the comments down below. And please subscribe for more videos. I hope to see you next time. Bye guys.